What's wrong with you people?
We're bad guys. It's what we do.
This is the deal. You're going somewhere very bad to do something that'll get you killed.
He's so intense.
Please don't touch me. Please don't touch me.
You want to see something? Y'all want to see something?
That's gangster.
Suicide Squad. Rated PG-13. Experience it in IMAX 3D.
Hello, I'm the Universal Critic. I talk about whatever I want, whenever I want. In recent years, Marvel Studios has made massive strides in constructing a swath of hit superhero films, whereas DC has struggled to play catch-up. Today's film is their latest attempt to do that, and after the underwhelming mediocrity that was both Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad. Set shortly after the events of Batman vs. Superman, government agent Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis, exploits the paranoia and general insecurity of world affairs to greenlight a project known as Task Force X. Meant to take on the most dangerous of missions, Task Force X is made up of the most ruthless criminals on Earth, people with no hesitations who can provide total deniability for the US government. Waller recruits the mutant Killer Croc, played by a man whose name I won't even try to pronounce, the pyrotechnic gangbanger El Diablo, played by Jay Hernandez, Australian bank robber Captain Boomerang, played by Jay Courtney, the hitman with a perfect record Deadshot, played by Will Smith, and Harley Quinn, played by Margot Robbie, the playfully psychotic girlfriend of the Joker, played by Jared Leto. The team is forced under penalty of death by Waller to take down a mysterious metahuman called the Enchantress, played by Cara Delevingne, and stop her from destroying the world with her dark magic. My longtime listeners will remember that I was no fan of Batman vs. Superman, and while this film is far from perfect, it is nonetheless a vast improvement over its immediate predecessor. The casting and effects in this film are stellar. The standouts for me are, and this is probably a surprise to no one, Leto, Robbie, and Smith. Leto's take on the Joker is sort of a mishmash of Heath Ledger and Jack Nicholson. You can tell he is always manipulating things to his advantage, but he still has this untamable, barely functional wild streak that could send him on a rampage at the drop of a hat. It makes for a fun and engaging performance, though I really wish he was given more screen time than he is. Smith gives a good straight man performance, being the relatively sane and rational one in a group of crazies. His backstory involving being separated from his daughter is meant to anchor the movie with some heart, and it mostly works, though it does get a little sappy, especially at the end. Robbie is perfectly cast as Harley Quinn. Good thing, too, as this is her first live-action appearance. While I do miss her classic court jester outfit, which does appear in the film briefly, the new costume they gave her is pretty cool, and honestly, seeing her in that outfit in live action throughout the entire movie would look much, much sillier than it does in the cartoon or in the comics. Robbie manages to get the perfect balance of perky, insane, and damaged, and the portrayal of the abusive relationship between her and the Joker is handled quite well as a sort of cultish total devotion on her part and an emotional domination on his. It's a bit like 50 Shades of Grey, if it was honest. The other cast members are solid, though they aren't given nearly as much to do as the ones I just mentioned. The weakest link of the cast for me is Devlinga as the Enchantress, or rather I should say, hers is the most uneven performance in the film. They set her up as a Jekyll and Hyde character, switching between a calm, unassuming scientist and the Wicked Witch proper. The scientist half isn't given really much to do, and the witch half is hit and miss. In the first half, they have her dressed in these ratty tribal clothes and have her all covered in muck, which is a really cool design, but then towards the climax, they give her a much cleaner look, and the actress really starts chewing the scenery. She's doing this weird hammy dance the whole time, and she basically becomes a poor man's Gozer from Ghostbusters. Come to think of it, this whole movie feels like a weird mix of Escape from New York and Ghostbusters. Seriously, check out both those movies before you see this and then compare them to this film, and tell me you don't see the similarities. The biggest problems with this film lie not in front of the camera, but rather behind it. If memory serves, this film was hastily reshot to add more humor and levity to it, and that really shows, especially in the first act of the film. In the first few minutes, we jump from lighthearted jokes to tragic backstory to tense action scenes with no stops whatsoever in the middle. On top of that, when we first see Harley and her backstory, there are some really obnoxious and distracting edits, by which I mean bright purple flashes instead of any sort of natural transition. I get that we're peering into Harley's mind and all that, and she would be, of course she's crazy, so everything would be all distorted, but that's no excuse for the director and editors to be that obnoxious with the filmmaking. This movie can't seem to decide if it wants to be a truly dark and gritty epic like The Dark Knight, or a fun, self-aware laugh fest like Guardians of the Galaxy or Deadpool. The humor feels rather tacked on at times, but I found it amusing most of the time. And honestly, I'm glad this movie tried to be more fun, even if that clearly was not the plan from the beginning. But if it keeps this film from becoming another pretentious, self-serious, boring mess like Batman v Superman, I'm all for it. The attempts at fun in this movie are a nice breath of fresh air for a DC film. I'm glad the director of this movie realized that you can actually put bright colors in your movie, unlike Batman v Superman, and the soundtrack was pretty cool too, though that gimmick was clearly stolen from both Guardians of the Galaxy and Deadpool. Overall, I give Suicide Squad a low big screen rating. It's a bit of a mess, but hey, at least it's a fun mess. I'm the Universal Critic. I talk about whatever I want, whenever I want. Goodbye.